Thank you for joining us today for our WESTWEEK Keynote panel, Secondary Homes, the New Refuge. We look forward to delving into this topic, but before we do, we'd like to introduce our moderator, the Group Publisher for Modern Luxury of Southern California, Chris Gialanella. Chris started a very successful career by interning for a local Washington, D.C. congressman on Capitol Hill. But by 2001, he found his passion in the publishing business while working for titles such as Angelino and Front Desk. Through his dedication, Chris was promoted to take over the Riviera Orange County in 2008 and was given the chance to publish its sister magazine, Riviera San Diego. Chris is currently the group publisher for 8 modern luxury publications in Southern California. He's very proud of his team and the hard work they do to publish amazing magazines, run fabulous events, and cover some of the most colorful people and places in Southern California. So Chris, we welcome you today for leading today's panel, and I will turn it over to you.
Christine, thank you so much. It's thrilling to be here. I really adore you and your team, and I'm excited to be part of WESTWEEK. And today we've got a really great panel here. We've got Josh Flagg. Josh, you want to say hello? Tell us about yourself.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, we all know who you are, right? You've sold billions of a couple almost $1 billion worth of business, maybe even more in real estate. Like when did you start in real estate?
Oh, I started when I was 19. I'm now 35.
Unbelievable. And you guys might not know this, but Josh also has a great singing voice. You could hear him at the Beverly Hills Hotel in the Polo Lounge. And he honestly sounds remarkable. And I think we need to do a duet when we're done with all this COVID stuff.
So we'll do Hello Dolly, no problem.
You got it. Then we've got Mark Weaver. Mark, say hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Josh. My design practice, we've been in business for almost 50 years now. We're based out of Los Angeles, interior design. And today I'm working on 2 projects in Santa Barbara. So I'm joining you from beautiful sunny Santa Barbara this afternoon.
Fantastic. And last but not least, we have Wade Weissmann. Wade, say hello.
Hello, everybody. How are you guys? It's nice to see everybody. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And tell us about you and what you've been up to.
Well, I chose to be an architect about 35 years ago. And the next 10 years I spent educating. And the last 25, I've had a practice that I started in the late 1990s. And my practice has grown. We specialize almost exclusively on residential architecture, but we were originally a Midwest-centered firm and opened up offices on the East Coast and the West Coast, and now we do work all over the country.
Fantastic. Well, we're here to talk about architecture, real estate, second homes, home design, you name it. We're here to talk about it. So I did want to really talk about this idea of secondary homes that many of us are buying these days, especially during these COVID times. And, Wade, I wanted to ask you, what are you seeing? What are people doing these days with second homes?
Well, they're moving into them, it seems like.
Not just looking at them?
Yeah, they're setting up shop. They're moving their kids to rural school districts, all kinds of crazy things. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's been really interesting to sort of see the second home market, change a little bit. It's gotten very popular to have a secondary home. And it's actually gotten to be quite popular to have a secondary home that's within easy driving distance to the primary home. And here in the upper Midwest, where I am right now, our practice has done a lot of work for the urban dwellers of Chicago and Milwaukee, Twin Cities, Detroit. They all seem to have sort of destination homes here in Wisconsin where there's plenty of water and beautiful countryside. So we've had a lot of requests lately to expand accommodations. And while expanding accommodations, also creating a sort of auxiliary office as well, places for people to work and telecommute instead of actually commuting. And so it's been really fun to have these destination homes start to act as their little Camp Davids. And I really enjoy that. It's very interesting.
And Mark, what kind of amenities are you seeing in your world with people when they're purchasing secondary homes? What are they looking for?
Well, I think they're looking for just about every comfort they can find. Like Wade said, so many people are using their secondary homes as a primary residence right now because they want to be out of urban areas. So they want every comfort and every luxury that they have in their main home and then some. So they may want saunas and they want a spa sort of atmosphere for their bathrooms. They want swimming pools and areas to entertain for the families to congregate. So they want, usually enough bedrooms to accommodate family members and some friends. And I think they're also looking, if you're living in an urban area and you're looking for a second home, one of the things I think that's so important to people is an exceptional environment, the yard, the landscaping, because they're getting out of the city and they're finding being in nature very healing and very nurturing, and it gives you a chance to sort of get centered again. So I know with myself, I have a home in Santa Barbara, and it's such a treat to be able to get out of the city on weekends and walk around amongst the oak trees and, look at the mountains and take a walk on the beach and so forth.
That's great. And Josh, in the world of real estate, I mean, you guys are killing it these days, right? Obviously, since the pandemic started. But what areas are you seeing many people purchasing second homes?
Well, I only sell in California, but most of my clients I know, they've told me are buying, Jackson Hole is great. A lot of people there there's a favorable tax reasons to move there. So a lot of my clients are moving there for, so let's say 6 months in a day. Palm Beach, Miami, secondary houses, the Hamptons, of course, Aspen and Vail, Palm Springs, and certainly Montecito, which is definitely, so actually a lot of my clients are moving from LA to Montecito, not as their secondary home. It's what used to be a secondary home is now really their primary residence.
Seems to be a big trend now. And you're right. A lot of people are leaving these big cities. I know you mentioned the Hamptons, New York City has become a ghost town, obviously in the past year. And, Hamptons is now where all the New Yorkers are all year round. And even for us, we publish Hamptons magazine, which we haven't stopped publishing this year. Normally it comes out, right after Memorial Day through Labor Day. So it's really interesting what people's needs are these days. It's fascinating.
I can't imagine being in the Hamptons all year round, especially in the
we live in California, so we're sort of lucky to not be in the Hamptons
I guess so.
all year round. But it happens, right?
True.
Mark, but what kinds of styles are you seeing individuals buying for their secondary homes? Are they changing it up a bit? Are they making their secondary homes look like their primary residences? What are you seeing?
I think people are looking for something different. And of course, it's different what part of the country you live in. If you live in Aspen, you're designing one particular type of home. We're just completing a house in Southampton right now. And like you've said, this has become more or less their primary home for the time being because they're getting out of New York. And we have another project in Miami. So depending upon the location, the climate, that dictates the direction that the project is going to take. So I think climate and environment has a big impact on people's choice.
Kind of nice too, because I feel the design industry is really, doing really well these days. Home furnishing stores are doing really well. Real estate's doing well. So once real estate does well, all these other categories of business kind of follow suit. So it's really fascinating. I also think a lot of people are creating sort of this utopia in their secondary homes, like you mentioned. Wade, what are you seeing as far as what people's needs are, as far as the backyard space, or what are people doing?
Yeah, to build on what Mark had mentioned earlier, it's really sort of providing sort of at-home amenities that, people, over a year ago never thought twice about, I don't really need a gym. I go to the gym. I go to a club. I have whatever. And now it's, home gyms and outdoor dining experiences and food and dining and prepping food is like really like that has gotten to be really huge too. The amount of appliances that go into some of these second homes is astonishing when you think about it. Because there's a bar, there's an outdoor kitchen, there's an indoor kitchen, there's a service kitchen, there's guest houses. And, it's really interesting to sort of see how people just want this ability to have this convenience, not only for themselves, but for their, immediate families and for their friends. And they're providing these literally luxury destination places, for all their friends and their family, extended family, which has been really fun to design. It's been really enjoyable. It's actually like designing little inns that have, sort of multiple facilities inside of them.
Josh, what are your clients requesting when they're looking for a secondary home? Like, what are their top three, I need to have blah, blah, blah?
Gym, movie theater, and somebody told me this the other day was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. A pajama room. I was like, what is a pajama room? They're like, it's the room where you can sit outside of the master bedroom and just lounge before you're getting ready and going to the bath. I was like, what is the pajama? I've heard this like at 4 different houses now. It's like a lounge room outside of the master bedroom. Where I come from, it's just called a master sitting area, but a pajama room. So that's a good one.
Well, the gyms is really, honestly, I think more people are probably working out now more than they ever have. Where you used to say, I have to get to the gym, but it's now, I just talked to somebody at Techno Gym and their sales are like through the roof on that beautiful equipment. So it's really amazing that even in secondary homes, gyms are a big part of what everybody's needs are, So it's
and the screening room or the movie theater or the media room, which by the way, I don't really think people ever, I think it's kind of cool to have a screening room in your house, like a real screening room, like, a 35 millimeter, which very few people have, but to have to me, I just would rather sit and watch in the family room. It's just a mess. You have to deal. Like, who wants to go there and like dim the lights and have the popcorn and the whole thing all the time? It just gets a little old, in my opinion.
I hear you for sure. How's the real estate in Los Angeles doing? Is anyone buying a second home in Los Angeles, Josh?
No, that they are definitely not doing. Nobody is buying a secondary home in Los Angeles for obvious reasons, mainly taxes. People are buying homes in Los Angeles because it's their primary residence. They are buying secondary homes elsewhere in the country, but I don't think people are buying secondary homes anywhere in California at the moment. I think that people in California or in Los Angeles are buying secondary homes in Montecito, whatever, but I don't think anybody's moving to Montecito from New York or whatnot, but I could be wrong.
And Mark, are you seeing obviously a lot of people are working from home these days, and who knows if that's going to change, or maybe we're kind of used to this environment of working from home and going into an office, but are you seeing more people working more in their secondary homes than ever before?
Working from the secondary homes? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, almost every client I have and friends, they're all working from home. So, and they go into the office occasionally, but in many cases, a lot of the offices are shut down for the time being. So, and this, exactly what we're doing today, Zooming, is become incredibly popular. We're able to, for my company, we're able to monitor our projects by Zoom calls like this. Wade and I happen to be working on a project together in Miami, and we're on Zoom calls 2 to 3 times a week reviewing the project. It's been incredibly productive. And, one of the things that's been beneficial from this whole experience is that we have been able to complete and have these projects progress with a huge savings for the client. So we don't all need to fly into Aspen, Miami, New York, wherever the project is, and incur expenses for the client and traveling and lodging, and it can be done online. So it's really speeded up the design process and it's cut the cost tremendously. So I think working from home, obviously there's the disadvantage of you're not socializing with people, which we miss tremendously, but it's been very productive, I found. And I find myself busier because you're on the computer all day long.
Also, with virtual school, is there a trend with, obviously, a lot of kids are going to school wherever they want to. I mean, you could have a secondary home in the Hamptons and go to a school in Los Angeles. Are a lot of people spending a lot more money on their children's studying areas and things like that? Josh, are you seeing an uptick in that as far as people that are looking to make their kids' lives even better?
Yes, the answer is yes. There's a lot of, but not in secondary residences, but in my main residences, everyone's finding designated rooms for homeschool for the kids. I hope that kids can go back to school soon.
I think they're all anxious for their kids to get back to school.
I think they're more anxious than the kids.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Wade, so you're out in the Midwest, and you also work in Los Angeles. Is that right?
I have an office in Santa Barbara, actually.
Oh, you're in Santa Barbara. Okay.
Yeah.
What are some projects that you've been working on that you're super proud of that you could share with us now?
Well, Mark mentioned before that we were fortunate enough to work on some projects. I'm also fortunate enough to help Mark with his other personal project. And so we're, which is a very, very exciting project. It's exciting to work for a designer when they do their own home, because you get a chance to really see their inner passion and things that, inspire them and how that comes up. So Mark has an enormous amount of insight into how he wants to live, but he's always analyzing and refining the plans. And it's really wonderful to sort of see, because it's an interesting process, right? And to be involved in it, it really gets us to sort of evolve with him. So it's not just like a client, it's like a decision's made, you give them your best advice, they may make a few tweaks. But in this particular case, this is like a growing living thing, which is kind of fun.
So
and
that's Wade's way of being polite and saying, I'm driving him crazy with changes.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, you're taking the project.
But that's a great thing about working with a team of people that think alike, because you're able to create and bounce ideas off people. And that's what's so exciting.
Mark, who inspires you when you're designing? What are some of your inspirations?
Well, I guess, I have a passion for the classics. And so my mother was Italian, and I have a fondness for, Italian architecture and Roman artifacts, classical pieces. So I'm very inspired by the classics, but I don't like living in the past. I like living in the present. So in this home that I'm doing, this is a bit of a switch for me. It's a very contemporary home, but I will be using classical art and classical sculpture and elements in this building. So I guess I'm inspired by so many different things. I would say travel is one of the biggest things, and that's what I miss terribly, because as I travel, or as anybody travels, you're inspired by cultures, their fashion, their food, their lifestyles. And so we try to incorporate, or I try and incorporate all these elements and take them and add them to my repertoire.
I think we're all gearing up for a big travel surge in 2021. I think that's the first thing most of us are going to do. I mean, I haven't seen my parents in New Jersey since August of 2019. So that's obviously, I can't go anywhere else but see them. So once I see them, then I can take a trip somewhere. So it's going to be interesting what happens with travel. Josh, what inspires you? I mean, in your world, you're in real estate, but you really are like, a concierge of everything. Whether somebody needs to find the best restaurant, the best interior designer, you're kind of the guy that most people go to, because you're the one who's out there, showcasing these homes and welcoming people to the community. But what inspires you?
I mean, honestly, right now I'm building a house. And so what inspires me is I'm really lucky that I sell all these magnificent homes, because I get to go in them and I get to look at things that inspire me. And right now, the project we've been working on for the last 3 years is the building of this house in the flats, which is very time consuming. And what inspires me is being able to look at beautiful homes and work with, I'm not really working with a designer. I'm doing this on my own. So working with my architects and just going and showing them image after image after image and driving them insane of what I want, and dealing with the people that are doing the CAD for me, and having 14 of them already quit on me. And we're going strong. I'm going for that 15th one, but I'll get there. So
you're building a primary residence, not a secondary residence.
Primary residence, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Mark, where's your primary residence? You're in Santa Barbara in Los Angeles?
Yes.
And Santa Barbara may become your primary residence.
Well, it will be, I think, when it's finished, that'll become my primary residence. I'll be spending more time here.
It's funny, I was out in Palm Springs this past weekend, and I was looking around, and we have a magazine, obviously you see it behind me. And, I'm already, in my 50s now, and I'm thinking, well, where am I going to retire, right? So I took a look at some of the real estate out in Palm Springs area, and it's, on fire. And I think, 10 years ago, I'm sure it wasn't on fire, but there's a lot of Angelenos in Orange County, San Diego, Scottsdale, they all kind of flocking to the desert. Josh, are you seeing a lot of people going out to the desert?
I mean, we certainly are going out a lot. We went down this weekend to visit with Suzanne Summers and Alan Hamill. We had an amazing weekend. We had a lot of fun. And I think my husband definitely wants to buy a house down there. He himself wants to buy it. I don't know so he can buy it. I don't know if I'm going to be a part of it, but I'll definitely come down and visit. It's beautiful down there, but I don't know if it's something I'd want to be every weekend.
Right. Wade, how about yourself? Do you have a second home, or what's your story?
So, I don't even know if I have a primary home, honestly. A few years ago, I had as many as 5 offices, and a residence in Nashville, a residence in Wisconsin, a second home in Wisconsin, a residence in Santa Barbara. It's been, they've been more of like, sort of, none of them really sort of act as a primary residence. They're all sort of like work residences, except for my vacation home. And I have a couple of cabins on a lake, rural, way up in northern Wisconsin, on a lake called Star Lake, and I absolutely love it up there. And part of the, honestly, early on in the COVID thing, I ended up returning back to Wisconsin to work out of my primary residence, just because we had been getting so many opportunities here. And it's been nice because I've had the access to that place, and to get away and just spend some long weekends up there, lazing around on the boat and having some time out on the lake and some long hikes has just been amazing. It's magical.
It's interesting because, I think we all have experienced things that we haven't before during this time. And to be able to go back to Wisconsin like that and take the time to do that is remarkable. And I think we're all going to get something out of what happened in 2020 with COVID. I think it's going to be, we really appreciate life a hell of a lot more than we did before. I mean, like Josh, you're a guy who was always out and about at events, and I certainly have been out on events, and I've been thrilled to sort of been taking it easy and not having to be out and about and enjoying my family a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
You feel the same way, or?
I am not upset about it. I will tell you that much. I'm so happy I don't have to have another, rubber chicken dinner at a charity event. I'm more than happy.
Those events are gonna, those big charity events and celebrity events. I mean, who knows if the big events are ever going to come back? But anyway, I know we're off topic. We're supposed to be talking about secondary homes. Mark, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about this idea of the secondary home. And obviously you're in Santa Barbara. Like, where else are your friends purchasing secondary homes and your clients? What other areas?
Well, as I mentioned, Florida, the Hamptons, Colorado, Aspen specifically. We had one a little bit ago that was in the Pacific Northwest, a private island up in the San Juans. So Hawaii, just sort of all over. I think people are just looking, everybody has, I don't know, I think as we travel around the world, we find places that just speak to our soul. So I think for me, the reason I selected Santa Barbara was really quite by accident, but it's someplace that I just absolutely love. And it's very convenient because from Beverly Hills, it's an hour and 20 minutes from door to door. So convenience, I think, is a big factor. But we're also working on vacation homes in Nantucket, and so it's a lot of fun. And the thing that's great about it is that every location and every project is so unique, so it keeps you on your toes, and it makes it exciting.
Obviously, with lack of travel, are people buying homes just from seeing them online or just sight unseen? Like, what's the trend there?
My clients are seeing the homes, and they always get us involved. We're always going out to look at. Tomorrow, I'm going to look for another second home for a client. So they always want, some verification with their designer, their architect, before they buy, to make sure it's the right residence for them.
Got it.
And I think that, like part of it, and Josh, you could probably speak to this, it's also, when someone is going to make a purchase, they're also looking to get some background information. What can they do with that property? What are the zoning restrictions? Can you have a guest house? Can you have an auxiliary, sort of office space? Can you have the amenities that they want? So they ask us to essentially come in and do some due diligence before they purchase, so that when they make it their own, they know that they can do those things.
Right.
For me personally, I haven't had one single client say, go take a look at the house. If I like it, go put an offer in on it. I mean, I don't know, maybe I think that they'll have me go look at it first for sure, but then they'll come out.
Got it. All right. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So we're at the 30-minute mark. I do have some audience questions that I will make sure that get answered. Wade, one of them was, talk to us about your experience designing cabin retreats.
Okay. There are so many little variations of theme that take place in sort of secondary or weekend home and retreats. And, I think there's a romance about cabins and the idea of a cabin being made of sort of like, raw indigenous materials. There's a certain, sort of ruggedness that comes with the whole image of a cabin. It's usually in an area geographically a little bit more, sort of ruggedness to it. It's either got a harsh climate or it has long winters or whatever. But these cabin projects that we really get into, I really enjoy them because they are year-round retreats, and typically they do account for 4 full seasons. And so it's fun to experience those environments in the different times of the year and in the different context. So some are on lakes, some are on mountains. It depends on the context, but typically it has something to do with a ruggedness, and I really enjoy that kind of architecture.
And you do make special considerations, considering they could be dormant a lot of the times of the year as well.
Absolutely. Yes. And although I don't know if it's really healthy for a cabin or any building to be completely turned off and sort of mothballed. I have a tendency to believe that homes stay healthy when the temperatures are more consistent, because you can get a lot with natural materials. You can get a lot of expansion, contraction with, wood, let's say, for instance. And, that can take a toll over the years of those extreme temperatures.
Right. Josh, what types of shifts, here's a question for you. What types of shifts have you seen in the market as it pertains to second homes? And what advice would you give to those looking to buy a second home?
Well, the main shifts, not aside from what we discussed earlier, which was, essentially not really shifts. I mean, if the locations have shifted, then wants and needs are always the same thing: the gym, the screening room, whatnot. But the advice I would give to people is, we don't know what's going to happen in 6 months or 12 months from now. We don't know if this is a trend or if people have just changed their lifestyles forever. So before you plunk down 10 or $12 million on a secondary house, I would do a little bit of due diligence first and not just get excited. You know, they want to get out of the house. They want to do something different. They want to move in the middle of a pandemic. Like, I think now is maybe not the time to, just buy the first thing you see. I would say just look for 6 months, look for a year if you have to. I mean, people I think are worried they're going to price themselves out of the market, which, yeah, maybe the house will go up a little bit over the next couple of months, but you want to be stuck with the right one. You don't want to just buy something to buy it and then you're stuck with it. So I would just say, hang on. You don't have to buy the first thing that you see.
There's another question for you, Josh. Is there an increase in demand for move-in ready second homes? Move-in ready second homes that are already designed?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a premium. I mean, I think that, I think people would rather not do the work if they don't have to. Of course, they're gonna call their designer in to do whatever they want anyway. But I don't think anybody's itching to do a project right now on a secondary home. I think that, I think it's going to be easier to sell something that's done in turnkey.
Mark, here's a question for you. You're currently working on your second home. Can you share some of the planning that has gone into that and what you expect the finished home to look like?
Sure. Well, I'm contrary to what Josh just said. I'm one of those people that's itching to work on their second home. So I'm excited about it. And I'm fortunate enough to have the genius of Wade Weissmann and his team to work with. So it's the creative part of doing this is what I absolutely love. And I love being able to call and say, gee, what about this idea? Do you think it's great or do you think it's stupid? And, we just have a very nice relationship. And this is a home that was originally built in the 70s, mid 70s, and I'm going to completely rebuild it from the ground up and make it current and bring it up to date with all the amenities that a home should have today. So, and a big part of this project to me, it's not just the home and the style of the home, it's really the landscaping and the outside areas of the house, the outside living areas that are just as important or maybe even more important to me because the home is situated on 2 acres of beautiful oak trees that are, 100 years old or greater. And it's just an idyllic setting. So for me, I think the garden is almost more important than the house. But it's going to be a contemporary house, very clean, tall ceilings, doors that open up, the entire rooms open up to the outside. I'm going to have an indoor-outdoor living room. There's going to be a fireplace outside the living room as well as inside so that I can leave the room open during entertaining. The pool area will have sun area, will have a pergola with heaters. So if you want to be down there in the evening. So I'm trying to think of, we were talking a little earlier about what sort of amenities are people looking for? Well, my partner wants a spa. So we're putting in a spa there, jacuzzi, in addition to redoing the pool and different seating areas. And then throughout the garden, I'm going to have different areas that are for entertaining and also for just sitting, going out and wandering around a garden. I love that.
That's great. Well, I can't wait to see it. Hopefully you'll invite me up there one of these days when you're done.
Welcome.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
It's a property. It really is. Mark and Fred have this amazing view of the mountains, and it's got this little, it's got topography on the property, and it's you drive up this gorgeous driveway, loaded with oaks, and it's everything that you would love in a Montecito property. It's just gorgeous.
Wade, now how did you and Mark connect? How long have you guys known each other?
We met at a panel discussion at WESTWEEK about 5 years ago, Mark.
I think so.
And we just hit it off and started connecting and getting together socially. And all of a sudden I was, getting a phone call here and there from Mark saying, hey, would you be interested in a project out here or in a project in Beverly Hills? Or I said, sure, I'd love to. And likewise, I've been itching to get to the point where we had an opportunity to collaborate, on a couple of projects that we are just having an amazing time working on together. It's been it's very inspiring to work with Mark because he doesn't just design, he curates. And his resources are amazing, and the scale and the details are refined and very thoughtful.
That's great. That's great. And Josh, have you met these guys before? Or is this sort of your?
I don't think I've had the pleasure yet, but here we are.
Yeah.
There you are. And I've known Josh for a couple of years. I've been in LA for 25 years, and Josh, you were born here, right? You're a true Angelino.
Fourth generation.
Fourth generation. Wow. And I know, tell us what's going on with the show and everything. How's everything going with the show, and what's new with you?
Everything is great. We are filming it's quite strange to be filming now with these COVID restrictions. We literally have a COVID officer on set at all times that has to check our temperatures and whatnot. We have to get our noses swabbed once a week, which is delightful. We have it's a lot more challenging. I think it's going to take a lot longer to film this season than it normally does. Plus, we also started a lot later because COVID restrictions. So
has it been hard showing homes and doing open houses during COVID?
Not really. I mean, it doesn't bother me. The only thing that's annoying is when you have to put the booties on. That's a nuisance. I hate doing that. But aside from the booties, and then the other part is like, I hate when they make you put the booties on. You walk through the house, you go out to the garden, then you come back in. What was the point of putting the booties on? I just went out to the backyard and I stepped in in the dog stuff. Like, what was the point of that?
Wow. Are there any areas in LA that you're seeing a surge, and what areas of LA your customers are probably buying in Malibu, and what hot areas are you seeing in LA?
Malibu is crazy, but obviously Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Holmby Hills, the Platinum Triangle right there, Bird Streets, Truesdale, Brentwood, anywhere you can imagine that was overpriced before is even more overpriced now.
And are most people kind of steering clear of the high rises, and people want yards and utopia, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there are still, I have 2 closings in the Addition this week, and I have one at the Sierra Towers, which will be closing shortly. So there still is your buyer. That's more of somebody who wants a pied-à-terre. I don't think, or your homeowner that is either going from their big house in Beverly Hills to a villa in Century Woods, or wants a place at the Century or something. I'm really interested with what they're building in the old Century Plaza project. I think that's going to be really fascinating.
Oh, the Fairmont property. Yeah.
Well, towers but yes.
Towers behind it.
Yeah.
When are those expected to be complete?
I believe this year.
Wow, it's amazing. They saved that building. It was a historic landmark, which was kind of nice.
Well, what's interesting also, if you drive by, you'll see all of the lights that are on the building are red now. And I was wondering why they changed it from just regular LED color to red. That's what it was originally when the building was built in the late 60s. So the whole building is lit up in red right now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Good. Well, fellas, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. It was great spending time with you guys to talk about this awesome topic of secondary homes and the Refuge. Thanks for your time. Any parting words before we hang up? Mark, any parting words for us?
Yeah, well, I want to thank you for inviting us today. And I encourage anybody that has the opportunity to get a second home that it's probably the best thing that you can do. And it's a wonderful experience. So I encourage you, hire a great architect, a great designer, and talk to one of the top real estate agents, and you'll be in good hands.
Wade, how about you? Any parting words?
I concur with what everybody has said. And the second home market has always been a very intriguing place to be an architect. And like I said, it's coming in so many different varied forms now, from the traditional lake houses or retreats to hobby farms and, little tiny sort of just little escapes. And they may even be in somebody's backyard. So it works no matter what.
Terrific. And Josh, any parting words for us?
What I said earlier, I said, if you're going to buy a house right now for, $1 million, 10 million, whatever, it's a secondary home, I think you should do your due diligence and not just buy something because that's what everybody's doing right now, because we don't know what's going to happen in a year from now. This could have been the biggest mistake of your life, or this could have been the best thing of your life. But, it'd be nice to do a little bit of investigation, due diligence first before you make that decision.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.